Today, we're going to be talking about the interest rate roller coaster, what to expect in the housing market 2023, real estate design trends, and we're going to be talking about if your house is an asset. Today, we got a special guest with us, Nick Bush, the realtor. Welcome to the Real Estate Wire, folks. Welcome to the Real Estate Wire, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 2 headlines. We got a special guest with us today.
Is he ready, though?
Is he ready? First, let me introduce myself. My name is Dan, the realtor.
Mortgage Coach Marcus right here.
And today, we have Nick Bush, the realtor. What's going on, Nick Bush?
What's up with y'all?
I'm good, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Actually, this is actually an esteemed honor and privilege to have such a top producing, high level real estate agent. And Nick Bush is here too.
You got him.
See what I did?
I'm in the building. I like how they let us call ourselves top producing this, top producing that. I guess technically I am a top producing real estate agent, but it's a lot of people not top producing that get that off.
Dude,
you know?
Everybody's a top producer, because in real estate you can just pretty much create a category for yourself. So you can be like the number one. Where you live?
Fort Davis.
Oh yeah,
Hillcrest area. Fort Davis though is my actual neighborhood.
Okay, Bennett Road, right? So you could say like the top.
I don't know about them.
Hey, Mark, did you see how you try to dress it up?
I would too.
Fort Davis, off of the greater.
I do not live on Bennett Road.
Greater Fort Davis. You live on Bennett Road, so like you could be like the top Benning Road real estate agent. Nobody would know.
But that's like how they do on stats on like ESPN. He's the first player to hit in 50 degrees.
Everybody got a stat,
right?
Yeah.
So Nick would be like the top producing realtor, 6 foot over 6 feet tall with Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like you can.
Nick Bush is barely 6. He's like 6'1", and he got the high shoes on, so he's like 6'1" and a half.
I feel a little hate in your voice.
There is hate.
I'm 6'3". You're 5'5".
Why are you so excited to say you 6'3"?
Because that's the perfect height.
See, short. We don't never say
6'3" is the perfect height.
I never say.
Why would you brag about your height though? Like,
no,
of course you don't.
I'm 5'6". I'm proud. I mean, and then when I got my shoes on, I'm like 5'6" and a half. So
yeah, you get taller shoes, bro. You know they doing a thing right now where
you
can like where they can break your legs and make you taller.
Yo, I looked into that. It's expensive, and you don't get pain meds because the morphine actually inhibits bone health, bone healing. So they just break your joints like 1 millimeter every day for 2 years.
No way, it ain't worth it. Leave me alone.
Because I'd only get to like 5'8".
See me, I don't have to consider if it's worth it or not. Because like, shouts to God, you know what I mean?
Right, because you're 6'3". Right, 6'3". You said how tall are you again, Nick Bush?
Tell the people, let them know.
He's 6'3".
3.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Here's what I want to know: are you going to refer to him by first and last name?
Yeah, he's Nick Bush. Okay. There's certain people that you have to say their first and last name when you refer to them.
Okay, give me somebody else outside of
Nick Bush is one of those people.
Okay, Denzel Washington. Well, no, because you can just use Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel is on that level. Nick Bush.
Nah,
because it's about the syllables. See, he has a monosyllabic first and last name.
So that's a T word right there.
Let's see.
I was gonna do it. I was gonna do it.
Let's see. Huh?
I was gonna do it. Because I was gonna be like, is that a word? Monosyllabic. But I had to think about like mono would be one. Like
so everybody in the Real Estate Wire squad, Marcus did not finish 8th grade. He doesn't know a lot of words, like irrespective. But irrespective of that fact, you still my boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be your boy, but you're gonna use that word properly. We had an argument about that, and we're not gonna go back to it.
Because you didn't want to bet. Because if you were,
I'm not gonna bet.
You were scared to bet.
I'm not scared.
Nothing.
I'm not gonna bet that. I'm not gonna bet that. Anyway,
let's get to the top 2 headlines. So, what is going on in 2023? So, a lot of people are expecting.
We ain't got to 2023 yet.
Yeah, we about to be in 2023.
We ain't there yet.
We about to be. All right. And like what? Next week.
You should probably say what's going to happen in 2020.
Yeah, what's about to happen?
Okay, not what's going on. There ain't nothing going on.
What's going on in 2023?
All right.
That's true. Marcus has a good point.
Well, that's your boyfriend now?
Oh,
wow.
We get crazy on the pod.
See, Nick, you didn't turn this in a different direction. You've been here 10 minutes, and we gone in a totally different direction.
So the Federal Reserve has moved to try to lower inflation. So everything that's going on right now is because they're trying to lower inflation.
Right.
Ideally, inflation is supposed to be somewhere around 2.5%. And we're at like 7, 8, 9%. And in order to do that, like we explained on previous episodes, they have to increase the interest rates in order to slow down buyer demand, slow down spending, and that then reduces the inflation, because when you have more demand than supply, that pushes prices up.
Right.
And so with the increase in interest rates, that has brought the demand down significantly. And I think, like we even explained in other podcasts, if you're going 90 miles an hour down the highway and you slow down because you see the popos and you're going like 70 miles an hour, it feels like a drastic slowdown, even though you're still going 70 miles an hour, which is way faster than any human is designed to go anyway. And so that's what's happening now with the increase in interest rates. So what they've been predicting, this article here in Keeping Current Matters gives the mortgage rate prediction, because obviously we're talking about mortgage rates here. And the prediction from Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, MBA, NAR, and an average of all four. So Freddie Mac is predicting that in 2023, in the first quarter, we're going to be somewhere around 6.6%. And then we're going to average at about 6.35. Second quarter, somewhere around 6.05. And in the fourth quarter of 2023, they're predicting that we're going to land somewhere around 5.73% interest rates.
Here's the thing, though. Every time we get into these predictors and these estimates and what the economists say, over the last few years, it's been wrong.
They're wrong.
Right. Because but once that is floated out there, and Nick, you can probably attest to this, once they float it out there, whoever grabs onto it, and then they start to operate from that filter, and then they tell the next person, then the next person, and now it's a wildfire, and you're like, oh, the rates are projected to go up. But in actuality, when you go to get a pre-approval, you see, someone even with a marginal credit score, their rates are lower than what they projected them to be, and then that actually put. That was what was happening.
Is that what you're seeing? You seeing that?
So are you saying the rates are usually lower than what the Fed predicts, or
it has, like when they talk about where it's going?
Yeah,
like they're like, oh, we're going to have rate increases, but then the rates drop. I can't remember exactly how it was, but I think the numbers 2018, 2019, they were projecting the rates to be like in the 5s for some odd reason, but then the rates went down into the 4s.
Yeah.
And again, I can't remember all the how and the why, but it ended up being opposite of what the numbers were that they quoted. So when we talked about the CPI, and we were solid into the 7% range, and then the CPI numbers came out, it dropped the rates down into the low 6s, and then over time they trickled back up to like 6.5, and then the CPI numbers come out again, and it dropped down like a quarter, and then now they're trickling back up. So like right now we got some negative market pressure, which actually will push the interest rates up again. So like on your 30-year conventionals, the overnight averages throughout the country, which is not specific to each market, but the overnight average to each throughout the country, you're looking at like 6.3 on a conventional loan. Your FHA is down in the 5 and 5.8. But here's what I know, based upon what I've seen over time, I believe that if they continue to move the federal funds rate, which is the rate that the banks are paying each other money back overnight, basically, paying back their loans overnight. So if they continue to push that upwards, it will hold off the inflation numbers. CPI numbers will come in lower, and then they have to drop the interest rates on mortgages. And then, so we believe, if you ask any loan officer that's really watching the market, we believe that we'll be in the 5%, like the mid to high 5s in the first and second quarter of next year.
That's great.
When they quoted 6 and some change, we're thinking 5s. Now you can still get 5s with some points right now, but it ain't really worth it. But we also talked about margins. So depending on who's doing your loan, these companies they're trying to make money still. So they're going to still bump their rates so that they can make their money. They give you some, but
so what are you seeing with your buyers, Nick?
My buyers kind of hit the pause button. I think they got sticker shock from so many years of 3%, so many years of 2%. That like they saw
Black
7
sale.
and they saw 7 and they just like abruptly got out the market with the hopes of, oh, the rates are going to drop and then we're going to jump back in the market. And so I feel like with every market shift, whether that be home prices went up or rates gone up or rates go, like we always have to just be like buy anyway if you're ready, because
buy anyway. If
you bought at 7% 2 months ago, you could refinance into a 6. You probably can't actually refinance yet into a 6, but if you bought and you're in your house, you're gonna be able to take advantage of the 5.5% interest rate that in the first or second quarter. And so I think that like my buyers hit pause, but I think that like that's usually the wrong decision because once rates drop, so the people that were like, oh, 3% interest rates are fire, right? Then they went up to a 7%. And then people were like, all right, we're gonna chill until they get down. They're gonna hit a 5%. And what's gonna happen is all the people that didn't go and get into the market when it was crazy and the homes were selling 50K over, 60K over ask, they're gonna be back in that market with a lower interest rate, but paying higher in price points.
And they're being back in the market with everybody else normally would be in it anyway.
And that's already starting to happen.
So 2 questions. What are the areas that you primarily are selling and listing in?
Northern Virginia. So I'm from, Arlington all the way out to Fredericksburg is where I do business in Virginia, and then DC all over also.
So just for y'all that don't know, Fredericksburg is not the same as Fredericksburg. There's a lot of people that just say Fredericksburg. You said
Fredericksburg?
Fredericksburg.
Is different than what?
Fredericksburg.
Is there a Fredericksburg?
Fredericksburg. So you got Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
But then most people say it so fast they say Fredericksburg.
But you're saying
they don't say it properly.
Fredericksburg and Fredericksburg.
No, he's saying that there's not a Fredericksburg, but people say it so fast that they say that.
You've heard him say it.
And it's really pronounced Fredericksburg. He's really protecting his country.
I see.
his area. You know what I mean?
But I'm also acknowledging the fact that he actually said it the proper way.
You're a homer essentially. You're trying to make sure that people say where you're from.
Yeah.
The country that you're from correctly.
Because you try to carry on that too.
From where are you from? New Baltimore, actually. He's from New Baltimore.
I'm from Catlett, Virginia, which is in Fauquier County.
Nobody knows where
but
that
the settlers from Old Baltimore, they got tired of being persecuted in Old Baltimore, and they migrated and started to New Baltimore. They started a new.
I gotta find that post.
A new colony.
I feel like I look like my wife's from New Hampshire, right?
Okay.
And you got like New England. I'm always just like, man, these dudes came over. They had no creativity.
They
was just like, we the New Hampshire. We're the New England. It's like, y'all don't want your own name. You don't want a full identity by yourself. You just got to be the new or whatever y'all just came from.
Well,
it's like no rights, no freedom, no religious expression. We the New Hampshire.
Man, listen.
Yeah, Fredericksburg.
I get Joan on so much about where I'm from. All right, so I know the areas that you work in primarily. But when you hear your buyers, and maybe even sellers sometimes, because the sellers got to have somewhere to live, they got to buy too. How do you respond to that message of people wanting to like pause and not get into this market?
I mean, at the end of the day, you got to respect somebody.
You got to respect it, yo.
You got to respect, like, all right, we want to wait because of this reason, or we're going to delay because of this reason. I just always inform them, and I'm like, let's be logical here. Like, this is what's happening now. This is these are the pros and cons of waiting, or the pros and cons of acting now. So my job is just to be the expert, to be able to predict what I think is going to happen, in an educated way. But I usually tell people, like, I actually was telling people, it doesn't matter what the rate is. If the rates are 10%, if you can afford your mortgage payment, you're good to go. Because if they do go to 10%, what we know is they're going to drop below 10%. And in this case, they went to 7%. We knew that wasn't where the rates were going to stay.
Right.
So it's like, get in your house now and refinance later. The script that everyone was using for 2 weeks, marry the house, date the rate, even though that got played out quick, it was true. Get in your house if you can afford the mortgage payment and just refinance later.
But I hate it when people would say that.
No, but hold on. But that's the same thing that people were doing. I hate it when people said that. But that was the same thing.
Because it doesn't take into consideration that, if you're dating, you still have to pay that mortgage every month. Even if you say, just date the rate. Like, y'all ain't got nothing more creative than that. Like, date the rate, marry the house,
but if you bought in 2018 when rates were in the 4s for a second, and you got to 2020 and rates dipped below 2.5%, which you dipped to like 2.5, 2.75, you was chilling in your house. You have like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of equity, and now you could cut your payment $100 to $200 a month.
Here's the interesting thing about what you're saying, and that is the mathematics of it, right?
Yeah.
So if you really think about the mathematics, and I'm going to give easy numbers here. Let's say, for example, Coach Marcus, we got a $400,000 house. 2 years ago, that $400,000 house would have been, let's just say, conservatively, 475 if you manage to beat out all the other 17 offers that came in, right?
So the 400 now
would have escalated to 475, but you would have got it at 2.5% interest.
Yeah.
Now that same $400,000 house, maybe now you can get that same $400,000 house for $380 at 6% interest. Now let's take those two scenarios, right? You buy now at 6%. You bought 2 years ago at 2% for $75,000 more. The tax deduction that you can take on 6% is greater because you get 33% of that is greater than the tax deduction that you can get on a 2.5% interest rate.
Yeah.
So the mathematics breaks out that your tax deduction is great. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying buy or not buy. Do what you want to do. This is America. But if you look at it numerically, you break out about a little bit better because you get a larger tax deduction on a higher interest rate.
So you got to have somebody that has that type of vision. Most of your home buyers.
Well, that's what we do. We sit down and explain it to them like, yo, this actually, you're paying a little bit. You're paying more per month. You're paying what you would have paid 2 or 3 years ago before the fire sale.
Correct. Yeah.
You didn't catch the Black Friday sale. Okay, so you're just not going to buy ever again because you couldn't get the Black Friday sale. It doesn't add up.
But
right?
I think your math is wrong, right? Because I think what happened is
PG County.
I think what happened is like the people that bought in 2020 or 2021, whatever, and they bought at 400,000. That house is now worth 430. Is now 435, 450,000. Right? Like prices didn't actually take a step back like that. And
no, I'm not saying they took a step back. I'm saying if you find a $400,000 house on the market today, you can get that joint for $380.
Yeah.
And you can get 3% closing cost help.
Yeah.
And at 6%, your tax deduction is going to be greater because you have a larger interest rate. So you get 33% of the total interest that you're paying as opposed to 33% of 2.5%.
But what I'm saying is what people are missing is that like that house so like that neighborhood was a $325,000 neighborhood.
The $400,000 house?
Yeah, so that was a $325,000 neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And because of the market, it ended up selling at $400,000. Sure. And today you can get it for $380,000, but you're still missing out on $75,000 of equity because you didn't buy back then. And so that's the issue with waiting because you really are buying at a premium regardless.
I'm saying buying now isn't better or worse than buying at a 2% interest rate. I'm saying if you buy at a 2% interest rate, but you have to pay more for the house, or you buy at a 6% interest rate and pay less for the house.
It offsets.
And you get a larger tax deduction.
True.
And I think most people are just looking, like you said, at the sticker shock, like, oh man, that $500,000 house ain't going to be $2,500. Now it's going to be $3,800. As opposed to just saying, well, I can only afford $2,500, so I'm going to just get me a $375,000, $400,000 house.
Yeah.
So the people that don't have the type of vision and quite honestly, people don't know how to work that math to where it makes sense. They're relying on us,
right?
You all to make sure that the house is in the proper condition and is meeting their needs. They're relying on me to make sure that the numbers are right in terms of their affordability. But that's why I love the side that I'm on as a lender because, like, I get a chance to run these scenarios back and forth, and sometimes it can be a lot because, well, what about this price at this rate? What about this price at that rate? And and when you had someone that was
tell them about
heavy in the market, and they're really trying, and then you go and see these listings, and there's 40 people lined up, and you got, you know what I'm saying, y'all remember that 40 people making offers.
Yeah,
I got that same person doing making potentially 15 offers on homes and maybe never getting ratified, right?
Yeah,
so there are. And that's one of the other things I wanted to hopefully we can discuss at some point is like the actual burnout that we as lenders and realtors have felt over working. We've worked pretty hard at a high pace for probably about 3 years.
I mean, but we was making bread.
Like,
but we grinding though.
Yeah, the money is if you making checks too.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta get
it while you can get it.
You can now.
It's definitely and ain't no BS on this side. It's slower.
Okay.
It's definitely slower.
It is slower. But when you're going so fast
mm-hmm.
and like you're not able to really pay attention to every single detail like you normally would when you got so much volume and the volume itself, it's like, okay, you got 15 people that you're working with that are looking at 15 homes each.
No, but you had to pay more attention because you were in the trenches with like trying to figure out how to beat 10 other offers. So I think actually,
it dialed you in.
Yeah, the skill set as a realtor, you had to increase your skill. You had to be better. Kind of like every game was like, this is the last 2 minutes. We can't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I got that.
So you had
I
to
did
really
more negotiating with my clients than I did with the actual other people on the other side of the deal. Like negotiating with my buyers, like, yo, like this is a good deal. Like, you know what I'm saying? You should take it.
To be like, all right, so we gotta go 60K over, non-contingent, so and you gotta put a 30K EMD because that's what 10 other people are doing. Like you had to be sharp, because you were really kind of putting your clients in a situation where they could lose a lot of money.
But that market made us smart, dog. It made us sharpened everybody.
That confirms
dog.
what he's saying. Yeah, y'all had to be more dialed in.
Like there's so many different things that I learned over the past 2 years I didn't even know we could do. Appraisal gaps. I'm like, you could do that.
Escalations. Getting the condo docs, like getting the appraisal done quickly before the condo docs come back. There was so many things you had to like put into place. So I don't think we were slacking. I think that like all the good realtors are still around. Like, and like a lot of realtors are jumping out of the market now. All the good realtors are still going to be here during this little. I always say, I mean, I've been in the business 7 years. You've been in it since 2012. But like right after, like the agents that were in the business like 06, 07, 08 and survived were the cream of the crop. And I think like right now we're about to hit our version of 06, 07, 08 where it's like you got to hustle for these deals and really be solid, and like not everybody's gonna survive.
That's the thing, yo. A lot of realtors that jumped in over the past like 2 years, like they be calling me like, "Dan, I'm trying to get into real estate. I see you doing your thing," and I'm like, "All right, cool." Like over the past 2 years, yeah, sure. You can hand somebody your business card. You're gonna close 3 deals. Now I'm like, do you really know how to lead generate? Do you really have a database? Do you really understand marketing? Do you know how to generate your own market where you reach out to sellers and you reach out to buyers and bring them together and say, yo, I have a property that you might like. Like, check this joint out, as opposed to just scrolling through the MLS and if you don't see nothing, just being like, oh, well, no. I don't think a lot of realtors have the basics of just cold calling or even just door knocking or just reaching out to their database, calling them, touching base and saying, yo, how you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, I got a property that you might be interested in. Like, take a look at it. Or what are you looking for? What type of investment? If I found a dope deal right now, are you in a position to take advantage of it? Yeah, of course. All right, bet. Boom, put them on your list. And you do that 50 times. Now you have your own market of 50 buyers that are looking for particular properties. Now all you got to do is go find those properties. And you reach out to those people who have the properties and say, hey, I got a buyer who might be interested in your property. Are you a seller right now? No, I'm gonna hold off. Okay, cool. Well, it's okay if I add you to my database and keep you updated to the market. Yeah, sure, of course. Great. What's a good email address for you? So many people don't know how to do that because the last 2 years made us lazy. And the people that jumped in the last 2 years, unless they really got some good training, some good coaching, they're looking up like, yo, where the deal? I've talked to so many people like, yo, I don't got nothing on my pipeline right now. I'm like, you have nothing? Like, who are you calling? I don't call nobody. Well, yeah. Like, well, start there. You know what I'm saying?
You got the sweater with the denim shirt on though.
Oh, I'm doing like dad vibes right now.
Yeah,
Mr. Rogers.
I'm doing like comfortable Bill Cosby without the Quaaludes.
I'm just glad you put lotion on your knees today.
Why are you so worried about the greasiness of my knees?
No, because 2
2
weeks ago you was dusty.
Yeah, I was dry.
Sour has ankles out. That one he was hella ashy. You know? You can't be ashy.
Africans could be ashy though.
Africans are ashy. They can be ashy.
What is this lotion? We do not use lotion. We're gonna edit that out. Nah, we're gonna keep it in for you.
No, you gotta edit that one out, right? You gotta set it to a side clip.
We don't edit nothing on the Real Estate Wire.
Hey, this episode gonna be 15 minutes with all this stuff. You're gonna have to edit today.
So let's get to the next topic: the real estate hot or not. Wait, Nick Bush, we gotta get you in on the real estate hot.
Let's
go.
So
I'm gonna say real estate hot or not, and we all say it together because it's hot like that. Ready? So let's get to the next topic: the real estate hot or not. I use a little too early.
Yeah, I was early.
You was off. All right, we're gonna try it again. I'm gonna do an 8 count this time. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's get to the real estate hot or not.
I was a little off.
You good?
That was good enough. That was
good.
Yeah, that was good. You 6'3", so you were kind of awkward a little bit.
I missed the church clap.
You kind of awkward anyway.
I was off on the church clap.
So yeah, hold on.
You a church boy? You grew up in church?
I did grow up going to church.
You didn't grow up in church.
I grew up in church, bro. Twice a week I was going to church.
That's
Tuesday
nothing.
Bible study,
That's
Sunday
nothing.
Sunday church. And Sunday we was going early to church because church was at
Sunday
12.
School.
Sunday school at 11.
That's nothing.
So
I went to church Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. That's just 3 services on Sunday. Then I went to Tuesday Bible class, Thursday prayer night, Friday night Christian education, and Saturday we had to clean up the church.
See, this is the problem. Just because he was an extremist doesn't mean that I wasn't in church. I didn't grow up in church. You feel me?
Yeah.
You are what we call a C and E saint. You know what a C and E saint is?
Well, Christmas.
Christmas and Easter.
No. I was in church more than that. I'm reading the Bible right now, actually.
You ain't reading the Bible.
I am, bro.
What chapter you on right now?
I mean, I'm back in Genesis 19.
So let me ask you a Bible question. What are the 2 books written by females?
I'm not at that part of the Bible.
Yeah.
Exactly. What's the answer to the question?
I'm not telling you.
Do you know?
Yeah, I know. Why would
I guess you wouldn't. You wouldn't know you was at church.
You a church dude too.
But I don't know that answer.
Y'all, see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You ain't no church. But we used to do Bible quizzes. They used to quiz us. We would have to find the books of the Bible. Whoever could find the books of the Bible the fastest, it was like a contest.
We did that too.
And they would read it. They'd be like, John, or they'd be like, what's the shortest verse in the Bible?
Jesus.
So, all right, so let me ask you
John 11:35.
What's your favorite story of the Bible?
My favorite story of the Bible? Well, first of all, I'm not a Christian, but I do understand the Bible. And I read the Bible a lot. I think my favorite story in the Bible, well, I got a couple. But my favorite story in the Bible is when Jesus goes to the temple and he gets mad at all the Pharisees. And he's like, what are y'all doing? And he started flipping the tables over. Man, like, man, y'all sometimes
to my father's house to a den of thieves.
He's like, get out. Y'all selling T-shirts, hot dogs. Get on out. Get out. And then he started throwing the tables and everything. I like that because I'm like, the Pharisees was more so like, they were the one. I mean, I look at a lot of people that way, right? They're like, they like the appearance of being religious, but they don't actually,
not in their heart.
They don't hold the intention of the scripture. So they're more about the letter of the law. Like, oh, you're not supposed to do this on the Sabbath and you're not supposed to do that on the Sabbath. But they're like judging people, or they're like talking bad about people, or they're, treating people wrong. Like, oh, we're going to stone you because you didn't do this at a particular time.
That's what church is, bro.
That's basically what church is.
It's
like, oh, you don't do this, you don't do that, and therefore you're a sinner. And it's like, but that's not what Jesus said. Jesus kind of said the opposite. Well, all right, well, hey, I'm just saying what Jesus said. But if you don't agree with Jesus, then that's fine with me. I get it. But yeah, the Pharisee joint.
That's yours? Which one you like?
Samson.
Okay.
Because it's not a rise and fall because he was just born dope, like Goku, you know what I mean? But it's definitely like I got all the riches and wealth and I just fumbled the bag, I like to be like, let me check myself, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, don't fumble the riches and the wealth and the height and the good looks,
I noticed you threw good looks in there.
I mean, people will see me.
Have we voted on that?
People will see me.
I'm gonna fuzz your face out on the video.
They'll still see me.
You gonna fuzz his face out and then you gonna vote.
I'm gonna pixelate his face out so people don't.
And then ask people to vote.
Don't have to be subject to
pretty
this debacle that I'm looking at right now. What about you, Coach Marcus?
Well, my favorite stories.
Since we in the Christmas season,
one of my favorite ones is when the paralytic man needed his friends to help him get to where Jesus was in the house teaching, and there was so many people at the house, in the house, that he couldn't get there. So they went up on the roof and tore a hole through the roof to basically let him down so that he could get face to face with Jesus. And it just kind of speaks to you need some friends around you that really love and care for you to help you get you what you need. And that's real brotherhood. But then the other thing is man, you'll stop at to no extent to get what you need. So if in a matter, I ain't saying, literally or figuratively, what's the right word? Whatever the right word is, to actually tear a hole in somebody's house to get to what you need. Dan be trying to, Dan is an English teacher in the former life.
Don't do
it. But it's you'll go through whatever you got to go through to get to where you got to get and get what you need. So
can we talk about the damage that they did to that person's roof? Who pays for that? I mean, was there some type of
they had insurance,
203K rehab loan?
They had an HOI policy. They had
home insurance.
They just opened up a skylight in that joint. Was like,
Hail damage.
Oh, he going in.
Maybe they did a renovation and it became a skylight, like you said.
Farm in the
Skylight, yeah, Skylight. Well, and the wood beams right there. I always wanted to do that.
Got the wood beams, like Chip and Joanna Gaines. Every time I see Chip and Joanna Gaines,
they got exposed.
They got the rustic.
They got wood beams.
Yeah,
we got wood beams.
I'm doing the wood beams in the house.
Have you been in the crib yet?
I have not been in the crib.
It's a modest, Frank Lloyd Wright.
You haven't been in his crib?
I haven't been in the crib.
We saying we not eligible
because y'all too dark skinned. No, actually, y'all too.
Say what?
Nah, nobody above 5'9" is allowed in my house. I pull out the measuring tape. How tall are you?
You got the little strip at the door like they got at Wawa when you walk up.
Yeah. But we got wood beams though.
I like the wood beams.
Wood beams are the look.
I do like. I want to build a log cabin on my property, so I can't.
You see how you added the S to that, Drake? Did you beat that?
What?
Properties.
I said property.
You said properties.
I said property.
How many acres do you have?
Now?
140.
140 acres?
You have 140? I thought you said 1.4. Oh, like
no.
You have 140 acres?
Yeah.
How many acres are like livable though? Like how many are cleared? It's all cleared.
So I got 3 tracks that all touch each other. So I've got about maybe 35 that are clear and open up top. The middle is mostly wooded, but there's about 5 acres that's open, and the pond is on the other side of that road. And then I got another 40 that touch that pretty much probably 35 of that 40.
So how much do you sell an acre for?
Probably 10 bands.
Hey, you got to tell them the story about.
Can I buy an acre?
We can talk.
That's what I'm. Tell them about the story about the dude that sold you the land.
Which story? Like the old dude that didn't want me to.
You say he was like a
racist dude.
A racist dude.
A redneck.
Bro,
I was about to say redneck.
This racist dude. So it's in West Virginia, right? This dude like the stories about like racial struggles and racist and the Klan or whatever that you think about when you hear West Virginia, like. These people were kind of like that. So basically, he was losing the property. They were trying to work with this dude for years. And he ended up foreclosing on it. And I see the deal, and I'm trying to buy in my county to support the economy and whatnot. And I wanted 20 acres or whatever. But, like, I was like, man, it kept my search kept pulling me out to Winchester. And then it pulled me across state line, and then I ended up in a place called Mount Storm. So this dude was like, didn't want to sell it. And he just kept making it so difficult. Would show up on the property, was like trespassing and whatnot. So the universal paint color for like, instead of putting a no trespassing sign, if you spray purple paint on your trees and on a border, that is a universal sign and color that don't trespass.
Fun fact of the day.
So I spraying it purple on my border. Guy next to me sprayed, and this dude just kept trying to come on the property. Man, we had to call
after you had bought it.
Yeah, after we had bought it, and so he would come through the woods and all that stuff. And old boy next to me is like, if he's up here again, yeah, like they ain't gonna find him. So after that, like we called the cops and cops pressed him or whatever. But we ain't had no problem.
Oh man, he was emotionally attacked.
That's dope, bro. You have 148. You need to market that to a Walmart, dollar store, something like that.
But it's not like even. It's like hills and ponds and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean there's rolling hills. There's 4-wheeler trails through it.
So is there anything built on there? Is there a house built? It's just land right now.
On my property, there's it's just land and there's some roads and
you got like a lake or something.
Yeah, it's a 2-acre pond in there.
I want to buy on the water, bro. So whatever that price is, that's what I want, and I'll build my house later.
How far away is it from like civilization, though? That's the question.
So y'all know I live an hour and 15 minutes from here.
From civilization, correct?
Shut up. But
New Baltimore.
New Baltimore. Yeah. So it's actually 2 hours from my doorstep. So if y'all ever ride,
so 3.5 hours from here.
Yeah, but it's a real easy drive. Like if you ever, I know I say that, but if you get on 66 and then hit 81
straight down,
yeah,
I don't know.
take 66.
I don't know. 81 is not a real easy drive on itself. You know what I mean? Because of the trucks, the big trucks,
right?
18-wheelers.
But if you get to where 66 stops and you go north to Winchester or into Maryland, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, you go south, that'll take you into North Carolina, whatever. But if you go south and then like literally like 5 minutes from 66, you get up on the exit and ride an hour and you wind up on the property. when I say it's an easy drive from that perspective, like it's pretty much all highway.
But is there anything around it? Like, can I go to a Walmart real quick? Can I go to a restaurant real quick? Can I make
there's some of that stuff around there. And then now real quick is relative because it's 15, 20 minutes away.
That's not bad. That's real quick.
That's not bad.
But then like y'all heard of Lake Anna?
Yeah.
Like that. So Mount Storm Lake is the equivalent of Lake Anna. So that water cools the generators for their power plants and whatnot up there.
I'm buying some acres on your land, bro.
There's ski resorts up there and all that.
Oh shoot.
So we're talking about like I would love to. Well, I'm going to put a gun range out there, have 4-wheeler trails, be able to do axe throwing. It could be like a legit men's retreat type thing. My wife wants to build a like a wedding retreat, so you come there, get married.
You got to close a lot of loans, brother.
That's why Nick is here. I don't know about damn, but
I got you. I'm gonna buy some land.
You know we be closing.
Hey, listen, we be closing.
We be closing. I be like,
is it WBC
we been having headaches.
Not ABC? We be closing instead of always be closing.
We can change it.
That was corny, Nick.
I can rock with it though.
Was it corny?
That was corny. Okay. That was corny.
Move on now. You know what I'm saying? What's the topic?
What's the next one? Real estate design trends.
Hey, no, but what I'm noticing about real estate design trends as we move to another topic, I'm noticing, a lot of people are starting to move away from these open floor concept,
and go back to
rooms.
So let me say something about this.
Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, no. But like
your house is closed. Your house ain't open.
Yeah, but my house was built in 1942. So and we didn't knock that wall down. So we have an addition on our house. That's what I'm saying.
Everybody would have knocked that wall down.
Yeah, we didn't. So we have, but like I have taste. So like we didn't knock that wall down because if we did that, then it would make sense.
Have a place to put a TV.
Well, we're actually gonna like change our layout. It's gonna be dope. But like we have an addition where my office is. There's a full bathroom back there. If we were cool with like moving the kitchen back into where the addition is, then there would have been enough space to knock that wall down and create an open floor plan. But if we would have knocked that wall down, because I've been in other houses on the street, then it would have made the house feel smaller, actually. It would have been more open, but it would have felt a little smaller. So we wanted to separate it. But I remember like 5-6 years ago when I was showing houses, I was like, when are Americans going to be done with the open floor plan and move back to
I'm seeing it
traditional layouts? I don't necessarily think people are going to be done with the open floor plan, but the traditional colonial where you have a separate dining room table, because it's all about like, where does our family eat dinner? I think people are like cool eating dinner, in the traditional dining room.
People are tired of just like, I've heard a lot from my buyers, they be like, all they do is just go in and knock all the walls down, and then kind of like, this is what I'm paying for. You're basically paying for like four walls.
Yeah,
an exaggerated studio,
a big great room or a space. It's like a big studio, and I see a lot of people going back to like actually having a kitchen where they can close the door, or a living room or an actual dining room, as opposed to this big, huge, like great room vibe where you got the living room, the kitchen, and the dining room all as one big, huge open space.
I remember growing up in a house that had that. I mean, maybe we all did, but like because my house
didn't have that in Temple Hills.
The open.
I grew up in an apartment.
Because my house now has the open floor plan, right? That whole like the noise from the kitchen and the smells from the kitchen permeate all the way through to like the family room.
What was the word you just said? Permeate. Oh, good. Okay, that's correct.
Oh, I know.
Keep going.
But I don't remember growing like you could smell food in the house and you could hear noise, coming from the kitchen. Y'all choking each other.
This cigar is great. This is a good cigar.
So it's kind of a cool thought that like maybe we would go back to that.
Closed floor plan.
I don't see that happening. And I don't think that it's an attractive floor plan. I think living room, dining room, kitchen. Like I think living room, kitchen should be open. And I think that you should just have a big enough kitchen where you could put a dining room table, and that's where y'all eat on a day to day. But I think that having that second
I'm kind of tired of it. I'm like I think you lose a lot of that. Like my house is old, your house is old. Like I like that old, the architecture where everybody had like a separate room that was actually a defined room, as opposed to just knock the walls down and then just like put some drywall up and paint the joint. Like to me,
what do you think got us into that change from like
I mean, the same thing that moved us from like that light brown paint to this like gray.
I hate that gray.
Paint.
The grayscale.
Everybody hates gray now, but everybody was putting gray, and now I think we're about to move out of that gray phase.
So that's with the trends. What's the new trend on color?
So let me hold on.
Blue.
I mean blue. Like the blue and the gray was together.
Blue.
I think people are going like hella white. You know what I mean? Like everything back to white, like in the kitchen. How about this design? One of my clients brought this up. We were looking at, we were at a home inspection for a house that they bought, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like stainless steel is about to go out of style." And I was like, "What you mean? Like stainless steel is a vibe?" And he was like, "Well, stainless steel has been around for like 10, 15 years now, and so the people who are selling, I can't think of the word right. The people who are selling
homeowners.
No, not homeowners. Like the stores, like people who are selling stainless steel, they've been selling it for so long that now, in order to increase their ROI, they need to change the trend and start selling something different and make that popular." So he thinks that in the next like 2-3 years, people are going to move away from stainless steel and then start going with the different type.
I see a lot of black coming in now, like black
fixtures, black in the tile in the bathroom, things like that.
Black fixtures, black appliances.
The gold and the black is popular. Right
gold and black is getting dope.
Yeah.
Colored appliances, no racism intended. Colored appliances like oranges and reds and blues.
Yeah.
Them joints is actually
really.
They're coming back.
You ever seen an orange refrigerator, like a red refrigerator?
Not since I was little.
Because what's popping right now, we renovated our house like this, the 2-tone kitchen. Mm-hmm. So we have green cabinets up top and like they're supposed to be brown. They're kind of like grayish at the bottom.
Yeah, that's hot. I mean? That's hot.
So the 2-tone kitchen is hot right now.
They're in the same color palette.
Exactly. Builders are building either blue and white right now, or like a light brown and white. Mm-hmm. And so then people will start adding the appliance. And I think the appliance that they're going to make colored, that sounds crazy what you said, is the range. Is the range. We bought the Bertizoni, but we got the cooktop.
Yep.
But like people are if we would have got a range, we were gonna get a red range, not with the green, but I like the red.
So range. I just want to say, Tiffany Fields, you're not allowed to listen to this part because we don't have the money to be redoing
what up,
this
Tiff?
kitchen.
Here's 148. Y'all have 140 acres. Y'all have the money.
We don't have the money to be able to do this.
You're closing loans, yo.
Yeah.
You're closing, yo. You good?
Not for new kitchen.
You got the money.
What I did hear though is every granite countertops and everything. But then they've gone to this quartz countertop, right? I keep hearing that.
Been hot.
I have quartz countertops.
Yeah, so like I've heard that over like maybe the last year and a half. And of course, we probably were late, but by the time she started talking to me about it, I was like, we just bought this house 5 years ago.
Quartz has been popping. Quartz is just more expensive than granite, so it's more like durable. People just people don't. It's almost like everybody just knows about granite countertops.
Yeah,
right.
So that's the standard. But when you get quartz, you kind of go on a level up. But it's a better countertop.
Yeah, it's more durable. It don't stain. Actually, does quartz stain?
It doesn't stain.
Quartz doesn't stain.
There's something about it being like cleaner from like a disinfectant standpoint.
Really?
Like I think you're supposed to be able to put like raw meat paws on the quartz countertop, and and it doesn't like you can still cook it and eat it. You know what I mean?
Grow up. You need to grow up, Marcus.
You need to grow up.
I'm editing that part out.
We can't say pause.
You're disgusting.
You can say pause.
No,
You're all disgusting.
Every podcast,
both of you disgusting.
Yeah, he tried to tell me to grow up. I'm telling him to grow up because.
You're older than me, so like, I think the grow up part is already implied with your age.
I just don't look it though.
You need to grow.
You do look it. Oh, you mean like taller?
Yeah.
That was a height joke. That was good.
You've heard them all though.
I've heard a lot. I heard.
My best friend's 5'6" so I'm getting height jokes off. This is my whole life. You know what I mean? So I got.
You can't snap on me because I don't care. I'm not 5'6". I'm 5'6" and a half.
But that's also like if somebody starts joning, that's like right in your wheelhouse. So like you gotta be careful to walk into that because you be in deep water quick.
Yeah, especially if you like overweight, kind of like chunky, like.
That's what you want to do?
Like, no, I'm just saying. I'm saying if you were. I'm not saying you specifically.
But you're looking at me.
I'm saying I'm talking to you.
I know
about people who are of your same body style.
But when you.
I know big dudes can joan, bro. Like better than short dudes. I'm not gonna lie.
I never seen a short dude that could not joan. We have to.
I feel like there's way more. There's a lot of fat jokes, but like short jokes, like you can't really come back from the short vibe. You can joan somebody off of being big
because you can get small.
Yeah,
you just can't get tall.
Always. No, I can't get. We were talking about the surgery earlier. If I wanted to get the surgery,
you can get like 2 more inches on your body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can get to 5'8" and a half.
And that's not tall though.
No, but it's good though. I just don't want to be 5'8" and a half.
How tall are you?
6 feet tall.
You ain't 6 feet tall. You 5'9". You 5'9".
Every
5'9" be wanting to be 6 feet.
Nobody knows 6 feet.
You
Go
5'9".
ahead. Keep going. Who was talking? You cut off our guest.
All I was saying is that I think stainless.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
I don't think this is gonna happen because I don't see it, but one of my clients mentioned stainless steel is gonna go out because of consumerism, basically. And I don't know if he's right, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that happened because companies need a new thing to sell, to spark interest, and
it makes people feel good. They got something that nobody else has.
All it takes for Chip or the Property Brothers to start putting the colored appliances.
You watch Property Brothers?
No, I don't watch that. I watch $1 Million Listing, and that's it. But they could put, if Chip and Joanna or Property Brothers or the other show, Tarek and that girl, they start putting colored appliances and stuff. People will hop onto the trend.
Yeah, it's gonna be hot.
People hop onto the trend.
So let's get to the comment section. So I got a comment from somebody on TikTok, actually. And they were talking about Bob Kiyosaki. I call him Bob because we boys. And Bob Kiyosaki has this saying where he says that your house is not an asset. What say you, Nick Bush?
First of all, I just want to say his name is Robert Kiyosaki. We'll call him Bob.
Thanks.
And he wrote that book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
He wrote a couple books.
But one of his most famous book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Is a book that everyone should read to kind of get your mindset right. And it's funny because whenever someone I get a call sometimes like, hey, I want to be a real estate investor, and I'm just like, did you just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? I can tell because he disguises that book as a real estate investing book. And he does not tell you how to invest in real estate in that book. That's a mindset book to be like, all right, I shouldn't be an employee or whatever. And you can be an employee if you want to, but it really just says like, I should figure out how to build some wealth, and real estate is a good vehicle for that. I think that your house is definitely an asset. And he says that in there. And I think he has like an agenda when he's saying that. But I bought my house last year. I'm up $100K. We can cash flow $500. Your house is ultimately an asset because you could pay it off. And I mean, you can always rent your house out, and hopefully you bought it so that you could cash flow. So that equals asset. You could buy that house, have someone else pay it off, live in another house and collect rent. So it's an asset. So your house is an asset. There's no way that it's not an asset. And you get tax benefits from home ownership, which equals asset.
I'm going to be devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So, an asset...
Can I agree with him first before you give
Okay, yeah. What's your take, Coach Marcus?
I just want to say, before Coach Marcus goes, your house is an asset because the purchase, when you buy it, it's going to appreciate. Even if the market crashes one day, it's going to come back. And it's going to appreciate over time, which makes it an asset.
Yes.
What say you?
So I totally agree that your house that you have a mortgage on that's in your name is an asset because of all the things. I second everything that he said. I also want to caution our listeners from listening to everybody in terms of what they say about everything. Like Robert Kiyosaki is not the end all be all to whatever he's talking about.
Right.
Dave Ramsey ain't the
right.
You know what I mean? Like there's certain people, and I heard this, I can't remember who it was, but they talked about you can't listen to everybody. So Robert Kiyosaki is a billionaire. Let's just say that he is. And you only got $1,000 in your account, right? Or you only got like your net worth might be $5,000 because of what you got in your 401k. He's not really talking to you, or he's not the person that you really should be looking at. You might be needing to speak to and start to gain and glean from somebody like yourself or y'all, because y'all might be worth 100,000. So there's levels to it, right?
Always that way. He started off like us.
Correct. But then when the person at the quote unquote bottom grabs this information from here, they're thinking that, oh, if I can go from here to here. Sure. Like, no, you got it. Let's walk this thing, because he didn't get there by rocket, and neither will you. So I think that when I hear that, and I've read it, years ago, I can agree with some of what he says. Same thing with Dave and some of these other economists or whatever they might want to call themselves, educators. But you're right. The house is an asset. Be careful who you listen to, and get to a local trusted advisor. Real estate. If you want to get into real estate and become a real estate investor, talk to a real estate investor, right?
And then also it's like, I didn't mention the HELOC you could do in your house, cash equity loans. There's so much you can do with your house that makes it an asset. I think what he is trying to say, and what he's trying to say, and obviously he has a message that he's trying to get out, is that like, if you own your house and you're living in there, then you're not making money from your house, and it's not an asset. But again,
that's the devil's advocate.
But again, that's not true, because
here's why I say devil's advocate. One, I agree with y'all, but
you mean to cut him off?
No, I don't mean to cut you off. But look, let me cut you off real quick. I don't mean to cut you off as I cut you off. For y'all in the real estate world, y'all understand that joke. This is what I think. This is what I okay. I agree with y'all. Yes, your house. I think it's home. Having a house is a different beast than just owning gold, which is an asset, or owning stocks, which is a paper asset, right? Or owning oil, which is also a hard, tangible asset. Mutual funds, assets. Liabilities are cars, bags, shopping trips, unsecured credit cards. So if we're defining liabilities as things that cost you money and assets as things that make you money, then I think that a house is both. Bob, don't talk about this. I think that a house is an asset, and I also think that the mortgage on the house is a liability.
That's fair.
Because I think that the mortgage is owned by the bank, and
it's an asset to them because they make money.
Exactly, right? Mm-hmm. So the mortgage is an asset to the bank, but it's a liability to you. Also, the repairs on the house is a liability because you have to pay for that. Yeah. The insurance on the house is a liability because you have to pay for that. Now, if you choose to rent it out, like an investment property is a pure asset because all your expenses, if you buy it right, all your repairs are paid through the cash flow of the property. Mm-hmm. Therefore, somebody else is paying it, so it's making you money when you pay all your expenses. Then the expenses minus the mortgage equals your cash flow, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that a house can be an asset if it's purely an investment property, but the primary residence, I believe, is a mix of both.
Well, I think it's some wordplay, right? Because
of course,
if I own a house and that has a mortgage, right? Most people ain't buying their investment properties cash. So if I have a $3,000 mortgage on my house, and then I rent my property for $4,000, it's just like, well, the $3,000 is a liability there, right?
Because
I'm not collecting it all. It's all an asset because in that scenario, I'm making money from my house regardless if I have a mortgage or not, right? So the house itself is an asset. We're not just going to say, oh, well, since there's a mortgage on it, it's like less of an asset, or that part is liability. No, it's an asset.
I think the distinction is clear. The house itself is the asset. For example, if you had the house fully paid off, free and clear, it's 100% cash flowing asset.
It's just a better asset.
I don't think it's a better asset. It's still an asset.
Because I have a mortgage, it doesn't make it less of an asset.
But I'm saying the mortgage and the house are two separate entities. They're two separate distinctions. The mortgage is the financial instrument that actually is the house is the
collateral for
the mortgage. Mm-hmm. I think the mortgage is always a liability.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, if you live there or not, it's liability because you have to feed it every month.
Well, if you go buy another house, then that mortgage is a liability that helps you or hurts you from what you qualify for next time. So it is a liability. So it
goes to your debt to income, right?
This is why the mortgage is not a liability. Because let's just say you can't cash flow from your house, right? You can't cash flow from your house. And this is why your mortgage is not a liability. If I rent a house, I can't pay my rent. On the 5th, they're going to send the notice, right? And by the end of the month, I'm out of there.
The 5th? No, like the 16th.
No, the 5th, they send the notice. You paid your rent late. And then by the end of the month, you pay your rent late. Yeah, right. And by the end of the month, you'll probably be out of that house, right? If I have a house and my mortgage payment is $3,000, and the only thing that I can rent my house for is $3,000. If I lose my job, I can move out my house, move in the damn shed, right? Rent my house out for $3,000, and I'm just breaking even.
But
I have an asset still.
But that's the point, because the mortgage is a liability. You still have to pay the mortgage.
I have an asset still because now someone else is paying my mortgage, right?
The mortgage.
I still secured my asset long term.
So let me ask you this: what happens if they don't pay?
I mean,
then you gotta pay it.
But you should get
liability.
But you should get a better tenant.
Sure, but what if they don't pay? What if they lose their job? Things happen.
Your mortgage can be a liability, but
Correct.
overall,
so if it can be, then it is.
And I think it's just the wrong messaging to be like, "Oh, your mortgage is a liability," because there's so many real estate investors. I mean, Grant Cardone, the top real estate investor. Grant Cardone is not buying any of his houses straight.
He bought a house now. He owns a condo now.
But I'm saying like,
but it's how you leverage the thing, right? Like, I think it's how you leverage it. You talked about home equity line and things like that. Like you can leverage the thing that might look like a liability to make it an asset for you.
Like a car, you can rent your car out per day.
That's what I was gonna say. Like sure. Everybody knows that a car is not an asset, but because of Turo and whatever, you can actually turn that in. Because I've heard people like they're buying like 2 or 3 cars and renting them out, and they're making like $1,500 off of the rentals, and the car payment's only $300 a month.
What I'm saying is,
but if nobody rents it,
the instrument of a mortgage or any type of debt on an asset is a liability if it costs you money. Even if somebody's giving you that money, it's still a liability.
I think that way we should.
Your tenants are liabilities.
I think the way we should like almost word that is like, to get an asset, you have to accept some liability. And so to have that asset, it's greater to have some liability to secure an asset.
Of course, that's called leverage. That's what Marcus is talking about.
And I think that it's like low level for Robert Kiyosaki to be like, your house is not an asset.
I think he says that to be sensational.
It's a blanket statement.
I agree. It's a blanket statement.
It's not even true, and I think it's low level to put people in that position.
I think it's partially true.
Because what happens is, and this happens every time somebody reads this book, they think that they gotta like find some cash, and it's just like, nah, bro. If I'm trying to go buy houses cash all the time, I'm actually putting myself behind. You know what I mean? In America, you supposed to, like, the way you build wealth is you go into debt, right? And your mortgage,
good debt, not bad debt.
Good debt.
Right.
And your mortgage payment is debt. But if you can break even or cash flow, then your debt is kind of besides the point because you have cash coming in. Like a good way to retire, like the only 2 ways to retire, 3 ways to retire. You save a lot of money, right? You save a lot of money, and then you say like, okay, I got $10 million. I'm gonna live off of X amount of dollars for the next 20 years. Or you do that, you have a bunch of stocks, and then the stocks pay you out 4 or 5% a year. Or you have a bunch of rents coming in every month. Those are the 3 ways to retire and not work. And it's hard to save $5-10 million. People are not doing that. A lot of people don't understand stocks, and it's like stocks go up and down, rents go up. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
So the best way to retire is buy a bunch of houses if you can.
Yeah. Make
sure that you could break even or cash flow. Put a tenant in there. Have them rent those properties out for 15, 20, 30 years. And then rents are going to go up over the course of time, 15, 20, 30. Rents is more expensive in 30 years than they will be in 20 years. And collect checks for the rest of your life.
I mean, I get that. And
you have to start with your primary residence.
I get that in principle. I think that when you do start renting out, like, for example, I've had a vacancy in my 4-unit for almost a year. I just got a tenant. So guess who got to pay that? Your boy.
The sorry landlord that can't find a tenant.
That's what I'm... No, but here's the thing. See, that's a 6'3" joke. Anyway, listen, here's the thing. The mortgage... Now, imagine if I owned that joint free and clear. Then I'm chilling. Like, okay, vacancy, I'll feel it. I don't feel it. I don't got to raise rents. It's fine. I'll just let them people chill. But from experience, I know you get one tenant that makes it bad for all the rest of the tenants, and the tenants start leaving, that joint turns into a liability very quickly.
It could be a liability, yeah.
It can be. It can be very quickly until you pay that joint off and you have a full 100% asset with no debt on the joint, with no liabilities attached to it. That's when you retire.
But if you have a client, do you say, all right, go ahead and buy this investment property and keep renting? Or do you say, buy your primary residence and turn that into an investment?
Renting, you're somebody else's asset. So I would always advise, no, again, like I said, the actual house, yes, is an asset because it's going up in value. You're getting tax deductions. You if you can get depreciation if you have an investment property. That's the asset, yes. The mortgage, the financial instrument is a liability because you're an asset for the bank. You're the mortgagee, not the mortgagor.
I think that, like, if you want to say both, cool. But I think what people should understand is that your primary residence is way more of an asset than it is a liability. And that's the only thing that matters in that scenario.
I think it's 50-50, but I will say if it's between renting and owning, renting 100%. If it's liability, owning or renting, no. Owning, of course. I'm saying that just saying your house is a liability, I don't agree with that.
But just saying your house is an asset is true.
I don't agree with that either. I think your house is the asset. I think the mortgage is the liability. Until you own that joint free and clear, and you owe no money to that joint, and it's not costing you. Because to me, a liability is defined as anything that costs you money.
Okay, but let me ask you this: then. Even if you have a property that you own free and clear, you still have to pay two things at the minimum:
property taxes
and insurance.
Correct.
So that would technically mean that your house can never be a full-blown asset.
Which is incorrect information.
Right.
I don't think so. Because if you stop paying your property taxes, guess what? They could take it. They can't take my gold.
We ain't talking about gold.
I'm saying assets.
We ain't talking about gold.
We're talking about assets.
No, but
gold is an asset.
But there's a different type of that. Like, you could buy a Rolex and your Rolex appreciates in value, right?
Sure.
And so, like, just because I don't have to pay on my Rolex, doesn't make it so it's not a liability. It just makes it a
Rolex
different
is not a liability.
kind of an asset.
Yeah.
Of course. There are different kinds of assets. We agree. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, like I saw, like did you see the post about the Rolexes, like the appreciation and their value?
Yeah.
It's slowing down?
No,
It's
like
going up.
it's killing.
Going up.
It's killing. I'm like, and I've wanted one, but I'm like, in your mind,
Nick,
you grow up
Nick
like,
about to get a Rollie.
I'm about to get a Rollie.
Yeah.
2023, I'm getting a Rollie. My first Rollie. I'm going to buy a Rollie every year. Not every. I might not buy a Rollie every year.
No, you better buy a Rollie every year.
I'm going to have like 4 or 5 Rolexes, definitely.
Wow.
Because watches are assets. Rolex. I mean, you have to buy the right Rolex.
Yeah.
But Rolex
Did you say the white?
The right Rolex. Rolex is either grow in value or they hold their value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rolexes don't really depreciate. So actually buying a Rolex is a really good asset.
Yeah.
People look at it because it's a material thing, like it's a watch, like it's not an asset. It is an asset.
What you think about
Jordans is an asset.
Until the glue comes off and we can no longer wear.
Dude,
why you pointing at his shoes? Why you pointing at his shoes?
Those and
you saying the glue came off on his off of his shoes?
I had the OG bread 96.
All the OGs kind of fell
bro,
off.
like all of like.
But if you got 100 pair of Jordans in your closet right now,
yes,
you could sell those for tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes, I can.
Even if you wore them a couple times. So I could sell these right now $500-$600 easy.
Yeah.
What about used Rolexes? I was looking at some used Rolexes.
They hold their value. Like that's
used houses hold their value. You know what I mean?
was thinking about that, buying a used Rolex.
I'm gonna buy a used Rolex first, and then I'm gonna get the.
But here's the thing.
Rolex later.
But guess what?
Sir, authorized dealer Rolex. You know what I mean?
You got a double side,
5,000-6,000. Maybe
double side
10,000.
2 deals.
Who in their right mind would ever ask you? Is that a used or
exactly? Nobody's gonna ask you that.
Like, it doesn't matter. The answer just matters. Is like, does that Rolex grow in value or hold its value, or did you lose value? Yeah. And the reason you can even buy a used Rolex is because somebody's like, oh, I can make some money right now. Let me sell my Rolex. Or at least I bought my Rolex for 10 bands. I can sell it for 10 bands. I'm breaking even. That's cool. Same thing with houses.
When we went in Hawaii last year, we went into they had this. It ended up being like a spot that was kind of like Tyson's Galleria. Like they had like a bunch of high end shops in it. So we bumped into this Rolex dealership, and we walked in there, and my wife was like, "You gonna buy one?" I was like, "I don't know about that." Like
your wife said that.
Yeah, because I was on my. I was
like, bro, you should have bought a Rolex. You should
have. We were kind of dreaming big, and she's like, "Are you really gonna buy that?" Like, we went to these other store, whatever. But I was on my top producer trip in Maui. But like, we were like, I mean, I could, but I just felt so uncomfortable, like paying like 15,000, 20,000 or whatever for whatever, whatever. I was like, I just felt wrong. Like,
can we just not move past the part that your wife wanted you to buy a Rolex?
I put this way.
Flex a little bit.
It wasn't so much that she wanted me to. It was more of like, she was like, if I was going to do it, she would have been all right with it.
This is the time.
Yeah.
Get this off right now.
And
he had her in Maui, lost in the sauce. Like, you can buy a Rolex right now. The beach is so beautiful.
You been?
Nah, I haven't.
Please go. You been?
Where? Hawaii?
Hawaii.
Nah.
I'm not that interested in Hawaii.
Huh?
I'm not that interested in Hawaii. I'm not a beach dude, though.
Okay.
I like the city.
I'm not a beach dude either. Yeah. But like, you're like, whatever you envision paradise to be, like when we were little watching TV.
Did you take your shirt off?
Yeah. Man, listen.
Nobody was running away?
Nah, they got bigger titties in Hawaii than
Marcus
might have. I had to, it was right there, bro. It was a layup. I had to shoot.
Whoa!
I had to shoot.
He hit you with the doughboy train.
Boy, listen.
That's cold, Nick.
But listen, if you ever get the opportunity to go, you just gotta go because it's way more beautiful than what you ever really imagined.
Okay, I'll go to Hawaii. My wife and I were talking about Hawaii. We were like, where do we want to go next year? Yeah. And she put Hawaii on the list. I took it off.
It's a grip though.
Maybe I had Hawaii. I heard it's
a grip.
Oh my God! Listen, everything is imported. You might as well be good like
five figure grip or like 3 figure, 4 figure.
Like almost everything is double.
What you gonna spend for a family of 4? 10 bands?
$15,000 to $17,000 probably.
Sheesh. I ain't there yet.
But so like
one trip, I ain't there yet.
I mean, we spent like I think it was like $7,000 just on the flight, the round trip flight.
$7,000.
We did fly first class now, but
of course,
yeah,
nothing less. You got waves. You have to fly.
You never know when you're gonna get back. Most people like get a chance to go once in a lifetime. So if you go once every 20 years or whatever, unless you got a timeshare, like go and do it right. Fly first class. That's gonna cost you $6,000 or whatever for two people. Family of 4, yeah, it's gonna cost you $12,000. But like the hotels there, unless you staying in like a Motel 8 type situation, like you going to stay in a decent hotel, but like everything, like food, like whatever you think food is here, is pretty much double there.
Really?
Case in point. So I get out there and I forgot my clippers, and so I went to find a Sally's.
Shape yourself up.
Yeah, I keep that.
He cuts his own hair.
No, I don't. I go get my haircut, but I
shape myself between time. Okay.
Yeah,
in between time.
So I needed my Andis T outliners, right?
What's it called?
Andis T outliners.
Anders T?
ANDIS. The T outliners.
Andis T.
Yes. So I went to go. I found a Sally's. Try to find it. Knowing those clippers are like $60 to $70. So it's $120. And I was like, principally, I just could not do it. I could not do it. So I looked around. And I was like, these gave me a combo of some regular clippers and some trimmers. And I spent like $80 for that. So I bought those. Get them back to the room. I tried to zero gap them. Them joints was trash, man. I hate using those clippers.
So what's zero gap for us in the cheap seats?
So you take the blade off, and then you take you have a top blade, and you have the blade that moves back and forth like this. Mm-hmm. So you unscrew the screws, and you move this bottom blade up to where you close that gap. So that gives you a sharper cut and more precise.
I think that haircuts are a super liability.
Haircuts are like
$50 now, bro. And I'm tired of tired of paying that. And I got 3 sons, so I'm like doing the math.
That's why you don't cut your hair no more?
I spend $200. And that's why I get like haircuts every 2 weeks for real now. Because I'm like, am I gonna have to spend $200 every 2 weeks?
So what is this you're growing right now, Nick Bush? You growing a bush for the bush? Is that like a marketing thing?
No, it's just a vibe.
Nick Bush with a bush?
COVID happened. I was like, I could be real black right now, so I'm not cutting my hair no more. You know what I mean? I'm gonna let the waves go. I can go through the.
You had waves before COVID?
Yeah, for since I was like 12, I had waves.
So
I had
light skinned dudes.
Then I had waves.
Dudes get waves.
I've been growing my hair for I grew my hair for a year, then I got a bad haircut, so I had to cut it. And I've been growing it now for like a year and a half. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I'm
your hair grows slow, bro.
It's way longer than this. It's just curled up.
Are they locked?
Nah. They'll lock up though eventually. I have to sometimes my wife sometimes will comb it out. You know what I mean? But no, I'm not gonna lock it.
So do you know how to cut it off?
Do I know how to cut? Do I know? No. If I shave myself up, it's not gonna be. You know what I mean? It's gonna be crazy. And the reason I can't, I'm not trying. I can't do the fade. So if I ever try to shave myself up, I'm not gonna be able to taper myself.
It's gonna be
It's gonna be bad.
Best way to learn is you got 3 sons. You got 3 shots.
I don't want to mess their hair up.
Do it in the summertime. They ain't going nowhere.
Just set them up.
At least my kids got to be presented.
But you can just give yourself some time, gradually do it. But at the end of the day, if you really jack it, cut that joint off, cut it off, and then
Hey, did I tell you about the time Nick Bush's son tried to kill my son? Let me tell
my
you.
son is 3, by the way.
Your son is 3, but he's got the body of like a 7-year-old. Like this dude he's clocked, ripped. Did he lift? You put him on the bench? He tried to kill my son. My son is a little, he a fair-skinned little baby boy. You know what I'm saying? So my son chilling, sitting there at your son's birthday, by the way, minding his business, right? Minding his black business. Playing, little kids be playing with toys and stuff. He don't know about the world. So he playing with Ian's son, actually. Sage. Yeah. So we got these little boys here playing, minding their business. And Nick Bush's son come at 47 miles per hour with like a truck or like a bike or something, like some big, huge like object. 153 miles an hour directed towards my son. And yo, I'm like, and he don't even care. He's going like straight ham on my son. I had to physically pick his son up and like move him into another direction. And his feet was like swinging in the air while I was moving him, like speeding us out. And I put him in another, and he just kept going. And I was like, yo.
Also, so if
he didn't apologize.
If you move,
my son's kind of.
If I didn't move, my son would have been dead.
What?
He's with the smoke.
Oh yeah,
it's a problem.
The baby, he's a baby boy.
He's 3.
So which one is he in the 3?
He's the middle. So I got a 12-year-old, I got a 3-year-old, and I got a 4-year-old.
Nick had his first kid when he was like 15.
20. When I was 20.
He said he was in college.
When I was 20, I had a kid.
He was 12.
So I have a 12-year-old. My 12-year-old is dance height right now.
Wow.
And then I have a 3-year-old.
That was good.
Who's going to be dance height in 7 years.
Yeah, that was good.
And then the 4-month-old.
Who's actually going to be my height as well.
The 4-month-old is 60% in height and 80% in weight. So he might be a mix of me and Marcus.
Yo, my son is half my height already.
You got a son named Marcus, or you try to carry me?
No. His name is Isaac. But I'm just saying.
So you see how he did?
What did he do?
He said height and weight. So he referenced himself with the height. He referenced the weight.
He referenced your chunkiness. That was cold, Nick Bush.
It was smooth, actually.
No, it was smooth. It was smooth.
Yeah.
I've been trying to hold off on this.
That's called a double win.
I got a little.
But not like that though. Not like that. Like he got the joint.
He got a joke. Let's let him get his joke off.
The only reason why I'm getting ready to get some work in. But I wanted to ask you about this challenge that you did. Shut up. This challenge.
Oh, he's seen the 75
the challenge.
Hard. You see the 75
hard. You was on camera with your shirt off, and I was
looking crazy, right?
Yeah, that was embarrassing. I had secondhand embarrassment.
Wait till I have the 6-pack for him. Go ahead, ask your question.
So it's 75 hard.
He got a 1-pack.
I know one dude that did. I know one dude that did it, and he was like, "Man, it was the worst thing I ever did, but the best thing I ever did." Like, where are you in that?
So I failed 75 hard.
How many days you get into it?
2 days
6
hard.
days.
6 days.
But let me tell you the reason why I failed it. So 75 hard, this is what you have to do with 75 hard. You have to work out twice a day.
Pause.
One day has to be outside. I mean, one of the workouts have to be 45-minute workouts. One workout has to be outside. You have to read 10 pages a day. You have to drink a gallon of water a day. Those are the 3 main things. And the other things I forget. But one day I was exhausted, bro. One day I was exhausted and I didn't work out. But what I know from being an athlete my whole life is your body is not, you're not supposed to work out like twice a day for 75 days. So, and I'm not about to listen to some dude in California tell me that I got to do a workout outside. That's arbitrary. So I'll do 2 workouts inside, but it's 30 degrees right now. I'm not about to go run outside.
It sounds like an excuse.
So what I do, and the other thing is you got to follow some type of meal plan. So I'm still working out. I'm still following the meal plan. I'm gonna still hit all those goals, but I'm not gonna do it the 75 hard.
So when are we going to see another topless Nick Bush post?
End of February, March 1st.
That's an accountability
March 1st.
half naked post.
March 1st.
I'll be sure to disable my Instagram account.
No, Mark, you're gonna be like, wow, this is the body I dreamed of. By March 1st.
Did Will Smith inspire you when he got on that? He was out there.
Will Smith uninspired me since he made Emancipation.
Smacking.
Uh-oh.
Thank you. You
ain't like it either?
I didn't see it. I'm not watching those slave movies, bro.
Oh, you got to watch it so
it's
you can talk about the debacle.
Because I already know we were slaves, bro.
Thank you,
I don't
bro.
need you know how many black people in history that they can make movies about that are empowering?
You've been talking today.
And we continue to just make these, we were slaves. Like, how about we talk about W.E.B. Du Bois? How about we talk about Mansa Musa? There's so much history that black people invented. Black people invented the stoplight. Black people invented the filament.
And all we get is yes, massa.
I'm not trying to watch slave. Our history is broader than that. You know?
Okay, I 100% agree.
And you have to take into consideration that every black person in this country is not the descendant of slaves. Black people don't want to hear that.
You know my biggest issue with the revolutionaries, so for example, a Dr. Umar Johnson right now.
They coming for you, Umar.
They just repeat all of the ways that we are oppressed without any this is what we could do to not be oppressed.
So you talk to Dr. Umar, are you like thumbs up for him, or are you talking about nah, you ain't really with it?
I'm I'm like thumbs halfway for Dark-Tooth.
I'm like 90-10.
Because
10%.
Because it's cool.
Yes, 90,
It's cool to educate Black people on like how we are oppressed. Like this is how they getting us. This is how they finessing us. But there is not enough information about this is how we cannot be oppressed. These are the great things that Black people have done throughout history. Like everybody references the Black Wall Street. That's not the first time Black people, like, first of all, there was Black Wall Streets everywhere in the country. Yeah. But also from 1860 to the early 1900s, the black like former slaves, we had something called the Freedmen's Bank, right?
Yep.
And we put the equivalent of like over $1 billion. We had equivalent of over $1 billion in this bank of just like Black wealth that Black people were banking at. And then the white people came in and just like took that joint basically, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's a story that could be told. How did former slaves from 1860 to the early 1900s accumulate billions of dollars of wealth in one bank? Why is that story not? Why do Black people not know about that? Instead they want to be like, remember when y'all were slaves? Remember when y'all got whipped? Remember when y'all had to run? That's not the only Black story. So I'm not trying to see no slave movies.
I got that. And like the fact that you bring up those examples and you talked about the African guys last week, like there was I'm in full support of seeing those stories being made for sure. There's a part of our history that you can't erase slavery from it, and I don't mind. I understand y'all's point for sure, but there's a part of it that I don't mind seeing it from the perspective of like being able to get a visual of what some of this was like, because I can only read about it and hear about it, but I'm a visual person, so I enjoy like I hated reading the books and try to I can get my own imagination, but like when I see it on screen, it makes it come alive in a different way.
But you know who else? But you know who else was slaves? The Egyptians were slaves. The Bulgarians were slaves. The Irish were slaves.
And I'm with being able to tell the stories if the story needs to be told. I think in this country the story needs to be told, but I think to your point, like it's been told so much without telling the other stuff,
without telling any other stories. To me, it's like this. I think that like, yo, okay. Dope, we're slaves. Cool. All right. But if I was a controlling race in this country and I didn't want any opposition or any potential uprising, if it was me, I would make a whole bunch of movies that continue to talk about how disempowered you are.
Yep.
I would make a whole bunch of movies that show you in servitude to me. I would continue to greenlight those movies. And to me, it's like, yo, because I got a whole bunch of pushback on the socials about it, but I stand by my position, which is I'm tired of slave movies.
And you do get pushback on that because Black people
get pushback because there's a line.
Black people are like, we gotta remember.
We can't
tell that. And it's like,
how many movies do you see about 9/11? Like one. We don't see a couple movies.
They got a ton of movies that talk about it,
and there's a bunch of ancillary movies.
Yeah,
fair enough. My point is this: constantly looking at Black trauma and Black bodies being whipped and degraded and put into a position of servitude. I get it. We don't want to forget where we came from. Okay, cool. But where are we going?
And I don't have.
Where are we going?
But not even. Hold on. Not even where. That's not the only place we came from.
That's not the only place.
And I don't want to keep looking at where we came from. I just say that like over time, like. And there's not a slave movie that comes out every year. Let's be honest with it.
Just about, bro.
About every year.
Every other year. Every year.
I Googled it. It's like there's tons of slavery movies.
So even when they came out, what was it? The Birth of a Nation, right? They talk about Nat Turner.
I saw that movie in theaters.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I wasn't like, we know what he was, but we know what he became. And I understand like there needs to be more stories told about stuff like that. Like, and we can highlight.
They ain't made now one Harriet Tubman movie yet.
Nope.
There are some on Amazon Prime, but
Amazon Prime.
But I would say, but here's the point though.
He said Amazon Prime.
Come on, dude.
But here's the
point.
On
Tubi. They got movies on Tubi.
But you don't have a lot of people that can make high quality movies like you make a Marvel movie.
Here's what we don't have.
Yes, you
do. We do. We don't have
Let
Hollywood.
Let him finish.
We don't have Hollywood that greenlights those movies.
No. What my point is, we don't. The people that make like high level movies like a Marvel or Transformers or whatever, those same people are not involved in telling the stories that we're talking about that need to be told.
That's my point.
And that's the
because
problem.
they want to keep us. That is because they want to keep us disempowered.
So the other side of it is, I think the one of the best movies with high level technology and probably the very well done. We'll say, okay, we can say Malcolm X, right?
Black Adam.
That I ain't see that one.
Oh, it was good.
But Dwayne Johnson, okay.
Yeah, he's Hawaiian, but we'll claim him.
He's Hawaiian Black.
We'll take him.
But then claim us though.
There are stories that need to be told, and there are producers and directors that need to be involved in telling these stories. I 100% agree, and it can't just be about sports, and it can't just be about fashion or music. It has to be about like the real stories, like y'all are talking about. And I want to see those movies, but I also do I like run to the movie, to see a 12 Years a Slave? No. But the podcast that I follow probably the most, and I love probably the most, is All the Smoke, right?
Yeah.
With Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes.
Yeah.
When they had Will Smith on there and they were talking about it, I was like, and Will Smith is one of my favorites, so I was like, okay, let me just check this joint out. So when I watched it, I'm watching him, and I'm watching the whole thing, and Antoine Fuqua did it, and I'm like, this actually was a good movie, and the story that they were telling to me, it was a good movie to me. I'm gonna say to me, and the story they were telling, when it got to the end of it, and they took the picture of him, and they showed all the lashes on his back.
That whole movie was about that one picture.
But the crazy part to me is I had no idea that that's what the story was. When I used to see that National Geographic
I honestly
book.
didn't care.
Okay, but I remember being 7 years old, and my grandmother, she had this stack of Nat Geo books in the corner, and I remember seeing that picture, and I was like, oh snap! I connected all the dots. I was like, that's that picture, and they're telling the story about that. I didn't know.
I'm not saying let's completely abolish all slave movies. That's not my point. To y'all on YouTube, that's not my point. Don't come for me. I'm saying let's, in addition to all the slave movies, but here's my point. Who controls which movies get made? White people. And so when a black man does come and say, I want to make a movie about Mansa Musa being a superhero, they go, nah. Why? Because they want to show us in disempowered positions to keep us in victim mindset.
Exactly. You know a layup that's probably palatable? They can make a movie about Quincy Jones.
Yep.
That's a black superhero.
Yep. Tyler Perry.
Sure.
If you listen, Tyler Perry. If you listening,
there's even people that are living today that they can make movies about, but they choose to make and promote these slave movies all the time. It's no reason that us three should have been sitting in the classroom and the teacher brings in the TV and we watching some slave movie
about the roots.
Come on, that don't make no sense. Like, we need some black empowerment stories. We need, I would say like 20%. Make some slave movies. Let us know this is the history of America. But like 80%, could we have Mansa Musa? Could we talk about the Freedmen's Bank? Could we get another Malcolm X movie? Could we get the Quincy Jones? There's so many black people could we talk about the black judges in the 1800s in New England?
George Washington Carver. Like, let's make a dope movie where George Washington Carver is like a badass. Like,
but he also took the peanut and made so many like real uses just
that's
from
my
the
point.
That's what I'm saying. You could tell 100 black inventor stories.
You could tell hella black inventor stories, but we don't have them. We have Emancipation. We have Roots. We have 12 Years a Slave. We have Django Unchained.
I'm gonna shout out Kirk Frazier. You hear this?
Kirk Franklin?
Kirk Frazier. Oh. Look him up.
I'll look him up. No more slave movies. Let's play it out.
Let's get a conversation going. But all the way back to the front door with Dr. Umar, like, there's another piece. Like, even though we're highlighting the struggle and there's another slave movie, I also think there's something to be said about how we talk about and talk to and interact with other black men, right? Mm-hmm. So I personally...
Nick Book's shaking his head.
I don't know what he's shaking his head about, but
I know where he's about to go with this.
Where you going?
I'm not sure that I like how you address what you don't like, right? How he goes about addressing what he doesn't like.
Oh, sure.
So...
But I think he got to get clicks. He got to get...
No, go ahead. What's your point?
But when he's talking about like 150 lashes or something like that, or 50,000 lashes on such and such, I'm like, like, bro, like, you can't take that same comment and apply it to yourself, because no matter what you say or what you do, you would never want somebody beating your tail like not one time.
This is the message.
And I don't like how.
No, you know what you just said? Well, if black people say the N-word to each other, then we should be able to say it too.
That's what I just said?
No, that basically, yeah, because that is just like in the culture, talking to the culture, and basically saying like, bro, you shouldn't do that. You get 150 lashes. It's a joke, really. You know what I mean? And so that's the same way of being like, black people shouldn't address each other negatively because like if we're not empowering each other, why should we expect anybody else to empower us?
It's a little deeper than that.
Nah, bro, that's the trick.
So
you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to say, well, let's discredit Dr. Umar Johnson because really he's talking about black people. What I mean?
What's the 150 lashes? What is that?
So he was talking basically. Stephen A. Smith was talking about.
It's funny.
Something I can't even. You probably know.
So like Dr. Umar Johnson be like, this black man is married to a white woman. He gets 150 lashes for that. Like basically, like he not being super black. You know what I mean?
Oh, but that's black enough.
Yeah, he's not black enough. So that's what they say. They try to make black people a monolith. We're not monolithic, right? There's black people of all, like black people range in like who they are as people, just like every other culture, right? But they try. That's the same thing as being like, well, if black people don't stop saying the N-word to each other, then like if they're talking about each other negatively, then how are things going to change? Black on black crime. These are all just like traps. There's no such thing as black on black crime.
There's no such thing as black on black crime. It's just crime.
It's because crime happens in proximity. So if I live in an all black neighborhood, right? You do crime. Like you do crime. You commit crime where you live.
D.L. Hughley said it best. White people commit crimes against white people. Jewish people commit crimes against Jewish people. Asian people commit crimes against Asian people. Black people commit crimes against black people.
Just like if your wife dies, the husband is the first suspect.
More than likely, you did it.
You know what I mean? So all of these things are just like tricks and traps that they use. So like my issue with Dr. Umar Johnson is that he tells us, and shouts out to him because
if you listen to Umar, we coming for you.
No, shouts out to Dr. Umar Johnson because he is getting to school. You know what I mean? He's executing on that. But the school is happening. He's going.
You gotta look up my boy King Randall. King Randall is a G.
Well, Jalen Rose has a school.
He's 22 or
Jalen
23.
Rose has a school.
He already started the school.
But Dr. Umar Johnson, they're going through the last step of permitting. Like
sure they are.
No, he's getting it. He's getting it.
2012.
But the issue that I have is you keep telling us how oppressed we are, but you're not sending the messaging out on how to solve it. And that's why the Earn Your Leisure guys are more powerful. That's why 19 Keys is more powerful. They're saying like, this is how you actually beat the trap.
And it's not a denial. It's not a denial of the past. I think people think it's like one or the other. Yo, we can move forward and still understand the past, but you can't drive forward if you're looking in your rearview mirror.
But I also believe it's not a compromise on the message or compromise on the instruction, but there has to be a proper way of communicating that message.
Right.
There's nothing that I can offer my wife $1 million, but if I throw it to her on a trash can lid,
I'll take it.
It ain't gonna be received the same way, or if I want to, you know what I'm saying?
Then she's tripping.
it's not gonna be received the same way because I didn't do it in the right way. So if I'm talking to you, I'm like, yo,
you're talking wife code right now.
Okay, but even if I'm talking to Nick, if I'm talking to you, the way I'm talking to you,
throw me $1 million, I'm gonna take it.
I'm not giving you nothing.
You can put it in a pile of poo poo.
But I'm saying I think it's a way of communicating.
I'm gonna pick through that.
There's a way of communicating the message that you're trying to get across.
I agree with that.
And I'm like, the only thing that I don't dislike the man or dislike even the guys. Even D.L. Hughley has turned a corner. Like he ain't as funny as he used to be. He's more serious now.
Socially,
yeah, and I'm just like,
Kings of Comedy.
But the way,
Kings of Comedy.
He was the worst on that Kings of Comedy stage.
Real fast.
No, you got to look at it again.
Bernie Mac was the best.
Bernie Mac in
Bernie
argument,
said
of course.
Steve
Bernie
in that order.
Bernie who?
But that's why they put it in that order. That's why they put it in.
Bernie Mac
killed
Cedric Entertainer.
Yeah.
And Steve Harvey were the funniest, and D.L. Hughley was funny.
But he was crushing cats in that video, in that movie. If you watch it again, he was crushing cats.
I don't think D.L. stand-up is that funny.
To do crowd work.